Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live demo session where we'll be showing you how Localise plugin for Figma works and most importantly, how it can help you improve your localization workflows by closing the gap between your designers, translators, developers, content owners, several stakeholders that are involved in localization. Before we start, if you want to participate in the conversation, you can leave a comment in the chat. But if you want a question to be answered by Niklas, please send it in the question section. We can move to introductions. My name is Miguel Caetano. I work in product marketing here at Lokalise. I'm joining you from Barcelona, and I'll be hosting this session today. And joining us, we have Niklas Hissinger, who works with our localized customers to help them take full advantage of our platform. And I would say a design stage expert, as he has been implementing design stage localization and working with us with these integrations for quite a while. Niklas, do you want to say a few words?
Thanks for having me on board, Miguel. So I'm tuning in from Helsinki, Finland.
All right, nice. Yeah, just one last note for the people joining us that are not completely aware of who we are and what we do at Lokalise. I'm sorry for the ones that do. Lokalise is an end-to-end translation and localization platform that was built to help companies grow globally by delivering localized customer experiences. And we do this by providing a platform that can help you manage the process of localizing your apps, your website, your software, or your digital assets, marketing assets, customer service assets, you name it. And to ensure that you do this in the most efficient way possible, Lokalise has created the collaboration and project management tools that you need to bring all the teams together around localization, from developers, designers, translators, localization managers. You have CAT tools and productivity features for translators. You can set automations within the platform or the translations directly through within the platform. And we have an unopinionated API that, for more advanced users that want to customize their automations and integrations. And we have also built a very strong list of apps and integrations that will help you connect localization, streamline work between the different teams. And today we are going to talk about one of those integrations, the plugin, the Figma plugin, and how it can change the way you integrate localization in your development process. So in contrast with traditional localization workflows, where translations are happening post-development, what we have seen our customers doing is bringing translations and translators right at the beginning of the process when you're still in the design stage. So translators are working with designers, and this makes a lot of sense because you are able to detect possible errors at the beginning of the process, and that means that you are saving a lot of money on that. There are studies that point out that a mistake that is caught in design stage could cost 10 times more if detected after the product is actually delivered. So I don't want to take more of your time. I just wanted to mention that we have a complete guide to design stage localization available on our website, and that's actually we're going to drop it in the chat. We have a checklist if you are interested in starting, and you need some kind of a short guide on the boxes that you need to check to do this. And yeah, we have several assets that can help you out. But yeah, now I think we need to jump right into it. So Niklas, please take it away.
Thank you, Miguel. So I'll stop sharing the presentation here, and just to start off with, I just wanted to show the setup in Lokalise itself. So it's pretty easy to navigate to localise.com. I'll just press on the login button top right, and from here I'll navigate into the project's dashboard, right? So I have my very first project that I've set up for today, named the Design Stage Localization. Remember this name. You'll see it in the plugin in a second. And I've already set up then the target languages where I've set up Finnish and German because they're known to expand quite a bit. So it's great for that design test with language expansions. Make sure you make it, proof for languages that will expand by at least 30%. Then I have Russian for if you want to test, your design fonts with the Cyrillic alphabet, just an example there. And then I have French, which is a language that will differ quite a bit from English, depending on the context, thanks to, for example, gender or plurals, which will differ quite a bit. Now, what I wanted to show here is basically that I have set up the project in Lokalise itself. I've set up the target languages, but if I navigate to the project by pressing on the name, I have nothing here, right? So at the moment, I don't have any key identifiers. I don't have any string values. I don't have any screenshots. So we'll then soon navigate to Figma, where we can start off with the plugin. One quick note, I have set up something behind the scene, which is called automations. So what this will help me do is basically when I push my initial English strings, I will already have Google translated values for all of my target languages, right? And this will be very useful for designers across the board. So let's navigate to Figma. There we go. So I've already set myself up quite a bit here too. I had the localized design team supply this beautiful localized mobile app design. And I'll just navigate to the plugin, which is right here. I can move it around if need be. Obviously, I've already installed it. I've connected my user to the correct localized instance, and I've connected it to the correct design stage localization project, right? So it's right here. I could disconnect from this project. I could connect to a new project. That's perfectly fine. It's fairly flexible. Now, to be honest, there's quite a lot to cover here, but this would be better to go over in a dedicated call with one of our representatives, specifically key naming patterns and key naming conventions. Now I selected something fairly simple here, element_name. And this just means that when I'll be pushing string values from Figma to Lokalise, I'll already be using a key naming convention that's based on how I've named my design, the artboard, the elements, etc. Now, quick note, I've also selected the base language for my design, which I'm starting off with in English. And I selected iOS and Android as platform attributes for those keys. Now we'll close the settings page. And just a quick overview again. So first option that I have here, once it's connected to the correct project, is you'll see a list of view. So I have the base language English, and I could quickly switch then to another target language if need be, once I have those values translated in Lokalise itself, right? Right now, there's nothing, so no point in switching languages quite yet. Then I have push all. The
Niklas,
general, yeah, sorry.
sorry to interrupt. Do you think you can zoom in just a little bit so that people can see a little bit better?
Zoom in the design, or okay.
Or put it in, it's in full screen, right?
Yeah. That's
okay, perfect. Thank you.
The design can be a bit bigger, but the plugin cannot. Okay, so push all, generally speaking, the source of truth is then your design, and you want to update the localized values, right? Then you have pull all, and here it's the opposite. So logic is if you have everything connected, you have some translations, somebody's edited some values in Lokalise, by pull all, you'll be updating your design to the latest source of truth, which is in Lokalise. And then we have the duplicate functionality. We'll leave that for the very end of the demonstration at this stage. Now, something that I noticed in my last sketch demonstration, I was just pushing and pulling all. Just a quick note here, as you see these options in the plugin, if I select a specific element or button or string value, you see that the options here change. So I could add a character limit, for example, which is great. So I could instruct my translators not to surpass a specific character limit, as I know that using this font, that button cannot accommodate more, right? So one way to communicate with them early on and avoid any issues later down the line. Now I selected one, I can select several, and I could, for example, remove any options for a specific string or key For example, this password, it doesn't make much sense to translate it, so I could remove that. So here's just one example of how flexible the plugin actually is. Now, for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to push all. I'm a bit lazy, and pull all and just use everything, right? So let's navigate behind push. Okay, so here we have quite a few options. It'll take some time, but we got to go over them so it makes sense. Very first option is match Figma text to existing translations and localize. So this is going to be something that's very useful, more useful to you guys, because probably you will rarely be connecting to an empty project in Localize. So if you're connecting to an existing project, what happens basically, and I could remove all the other options and make sure that I'm not updating or affecting any values in Localize itself. The only thing that will happen is, thanks to the plugin, we'll be comparing the English string values with the English string values in Localize, so Figma to Localize. If there's a match, then we'll automatically create a link for you guys. So you don't have to go and manually link each string value to the correct key. Saves a lot of time. Second option is, let's say in this logic, there would be no match. Then if that string value does not exist in Localize, please create that missing key identifier and string value in Localize. Third option is link new duplicate text in Figma to a single localized key. So imagine, well, actually, you don't need to imagine. In my design, I have, for example, several times text with sign up or confirm or OK. Now, it makes sense in the design, but there's probably no reason to have this translated several times. And there's probably less reason for that to have separate key identifiers, right? So in order to avoid that and increase consistency, I can link all my duplicate text in Figma to one single localized key. Now, bear in mind that there would be some edge case scenarios where maybe in English it's exactly the same string value, but in a target language, the string value, depending on the context, may change drastically. Consider French, if it's gender or plurals, it's going to be a different string value, which maybe in English would be exactly the same. Now, that's why you have the flexibility to avoid duplicates or to create a duplicate in English, just to make sure that you have those different key identifiers when need be for a target language, right? Then we have tag. Tag functionality is a key management feature in Localize. Now, you'll see the sense of it once I navigate back into Localize. But it's a very important feature. Make sure you don't underuse it, rather overuse it, and have all your stakeholders align on what are proper tag names to offer, right? It's a quick feature to show, for example, the status of this key, or this key belongs to a specific feature or a specific version, just quick ideas on how to use tags. I'll keep it simple, so I'll just use created from Figma as an example. So then all the keys that have been newly created will have this additional metadata by which you can filter through and quickly identify which keys were then pushed from my plugin. Finally, then I have update localized translations with modified text from Figma. So I could actually keep that away right now, but I'll keep it on. Let's say you have a UX writer who works in Figma and then goes and changes some of the values after you've established a connection between the keys, right? Now, if you want to push the new string values from Figma, or the new text values that have been updated in Figma to Localize, then you should make sure to have this update localized translations with modified text from Figma on. Simple as that. Then we have update screenshots. So this is very crucial. This is, let's say, the one quick fix solution for the designers, not to have to manually create screenshots anymore when requested by the translation team, right? So using Localize, press of a button, wait a few seconds, and you've pushed visual context that is so much needed for your translators to perform a good job, and have less back and forth and Q&A and having to answer on what is the tone of voice, what's the purpose of this string. They'll have all the information in one image. So make sure you make use of update screenshots, which in my use case should be actually create screenshots. I have no screenshots yet in my project. Now we'll proceed from here. And if everything goes well, I'll get a results page at the end telling me how many keys were linked, how many keys were created, and how many screenshots were created. So there we go. You'll see the discrepancy between linked and created. So I have 24 keys created and I have 30 keys linked. This comes back to the option of link duplicate strings from Figma into one localized key. So because I have several times this sign up button or text value, then in Localize, I've only created one key and one translation value for this. Well, I have several duplicates here. And I have 4 screenshots updated, which is consistent with this demo design, right? I'll press close here and we'll navigate into Localize, see the result of that. Here we go. As before, it was empty. Now I'll refresh and you see the whole result. So first things first, at the top, I have my project languages. So I have my base language, which is listed first, and then I have all my target languages here. Second thing you'll notice is the key names. So based on the key naming conventions selected in the plugin settings that I showed at the very beginning, then I have key identifiers already generated for me, right? So you don't have to go and manually create them. The use case here is historically, developers would take care of that, and also maybe product managers, and they would manually create key names which have all the context needed to make sense of where does this key identifier actually belong to in my product, right? Now you can use our key naming generator and have all of your key names generated for you in a second with all the proper context, depending on how you've named your Figma artboard, elements, etc. Then you'll notice that the links the keys have a linked platform to it. So there's iOS and Android. This is important for the export process. Again, we're diverting a bit from the Figma plugin here, but something to consider. Make sure that you have those platform linked correctly for each key. Short description for the key that it was created from Figma here. And here you'll notice then the tag, which is this very important metadata that you can attach to a group of keys together to make sense of where do they belong. Imagine in the future, a specific artboard, so like a feature gets deprecated. Well, probably you don't need to host those keys in Localize either. And if you don't have a clear policy of assigning proper tags, it becomes difficult to identify those keys, right? So make sure you use this this tagging consistently from the get-go. Then let's navigate to the screenshot. So you'll see that each key has a small screenshot icon under them. So let's press on it. So what happens? So once I pushed these screenshots from Figma to Localize, Localize has an OCR that scanned the images and recognized the base language values, so the English text in the image, and then linked them to existing base language values in Localize. So that's how you have this blue underlining, which helps your translators then immediately pick up, okay, where's this text? What's the tone of voice? Is it a call to action? Terms of services seems like, legal lexicon. So they have all of the context right there, and you're avoiding this back and forth with your translators and localization managers or designers trying to figure out what the questions are and feed them the proper context. So you can do all of that in Localize itself. By the way, once you've pushed several screenshots, there is an option in Localize, which is to filter by screenshots. Quick preview. It's something that's great for then your translators as well, because they can filter the view per screenshot. So by pressing on a specific screenshot, only the keys that belong in that screenshot will be grouped together. So it might be great for your translators to go over in context all of the keys in one go. I'll remove that for now. Okay, then if we go back quickly to the automations, you'll notice that the English values were pushed from Figma, and that's perfect. But then somehow I have values for all my target languages here, and they appeared actually from this automations that pushed Google translated values into them, right? So this is a bit the result in Localize itself. Oops. Let's go back here, and let's see how this translates back into Figma. So now that I have machine translated values in my Lokalise project, I can, at this stage, already switch the language from the list of view here. Let's say we'll choose finish and we'll proceed. Now my whole design updates in a second with the finish string values. Now this is a bit better than, sorry for my voice. So this is a bit better than that instead of using pseudo localization, where you can have machine translated values with the correct alphabet, the correct alignment, and you can already test if your design is ready for an expanding language, right? So right here, if I zoom in maybe a bit, I see that I have a problem. I would need to fix that early on. And you can do this for all of your target languages, press of a button. I don't know how many of you have experienced or have been requested to copy paste translated values from a spreadsheet or on another source of truth. So here you go, press of a button, everything updates in a few seconds, no more manual work, right? There we go for German, and let's take the Russian one at the end. Just updates in a second. And you always get this results page telling you what has been updated. Okay, so let's navigate back into English and check out this duplicate functionality. So following on a workflow where Figma creates the key identifiers, which historically has been managed by the developers. Well, once you hand this off to developers, they might lose a bit of context that they used to own on where did these key identifiers or where are they actually represented in your product or your product's design. So that's why Lokalise then developed this duplicate functionality. If we press here duplicate, you'll see there's a few options. So first is create new duplicate page. And I'll select create with key names, and I'll give it a name, right? And actually, okay. So pay attention also to the pages. So I only have one page right now, top left, where my cursor is. And I'll create an extra page or a duplicate page with key names. And I'll name it key names. Copy. We'll press proceed. So now if you notice, so on the pages tab, top left, I have two separate pages, and you'll notice that the plugin is also changing options. So here, this is my source of truth. I can edit it, I can change it as much as I want. However, I have now a copy that I can share with developers or product managers as well, and invite them to work and collaborate in Figma itself. So Figma also offers a great chat functionality, which you can resolve, so they could come in, be invited here, and have that knowledge sharing. So the technical knowledge sharing, the product knowledge sharing, and design, which are all specialties that have historically worked in silos, can all of a sudden collaborate at the design stage. And then this page is very powerful because once the product design is approved, you can basically hand this off to your developers as part of the technical handoff. And they'll get the full wireframing and user journey and all that context that's needed, knowing where the key identifiers are placed in your product. Now, the reason this page is in view mode only, and so this gives you the flexibility to invite users that are maybe not trained in Figma. And so you don't really need to be afraid that they'll break this design while navigating through it, right? So that was duplicate with key names. And then there's another option for the duplicates, which also serves quite a few use cases. So navigate back to duplicate, and I'll select at the bottom here, create with language. And so let's select, why not Russian? And I'll give it a name, right? So Russian, copy. And we'll press proceed. You'll notice at the pages tab, top left, so I have 3 pages now. So there's the Russian copy that I just created. Let's say you're releasing your app in the Russian market, and you need to update the App Store's screenshots into Russian. Now, I've heard a lot of use cases there on the market where this does happen right now, but then again, designers are requested to copy paste the values from a spreadsheet. Very painful process. Well, here, press of a button, you can hand off the App Store's screenshots fully translated. That's just one of the use cases. Um, Second use case, why not share it with marketing teams? You're again planning to roll out in the Russian market or any new market, and you'd already want the marketing activities to start before the product launch. Press of a button, designers can hand it off to the marketing team as well. What other use cases were there? There was well, why not work with a feedback loop? So you could share the translated mockups with your subject matter experts. So local subject matter experts who would go over the translations in context. And by the way, if you don't want to invite your subject matter experts into Figma, Figma does allow an export as PDF format. So you could share that PDF. They would review the product in context, tell you if the technical wording is correct, if the tone of voice is correct, if the branding is correct in their country, and really get that feedback loop that you can feed back to your translators as well. So that's a very valuable use case. And yeah, most recently we heard an interesting use case where, let's say you're working for a white label product, so you're used to, it's the same product, you're just rebranding it, maybe inputting different languages for a specific customer. Well, during that sales pitch, what if your design team could support the whole process by providing translated branded designs to help the sales team close the deal? Just another very powerful method of working, and a tool that really simplifies that process for you.
Niklas, sorry to interrupt you.
Mhm.
And we are running out of time, but I wanted to, I know you've talked about this quite a few times, but from your, I think it would be useful for the people that are watching. Uh, what are the results that teams can expect when implementing a design stage localization and working with this with these design plugins?
Right. So that's a good question. So yeah, there's recently two case studies that do come to mind. So one, there was a DBS who had a very noticeable decrease in design bugs at the late stage, right? So if you can tackle those bugs early on, this is going to save a lot down the line. Now, I wasn't sure about the numbers there, but probably we can share, we can easily find actually this case study from the guide
Uh-huh.
that was posted. And the other one is Whizzings, right? So Romain, their product manager there, um, very good customer who measured or input the metrics for how fast he could release a new feature from a product manager's perspective before Localize, then implementing Localize in the first version of the Figma plugin. And he had a third metric where how it got improved thanks to this duplicate functionality. And I believe the numbers there were a 90% reduction in time for a product manager um, for a new release to market.
When
So
you
for a
release,
new feature.
that's major. That's major. Hey, Nicholas, I we're running out of time and we have several questions to answer. So maybe we should start
Yeah,
looking through the questions. And the first, I'm going for the most upvoted first. Um, so this is Karina. Is it possible to lock keys in Localize so that no updated English can be pushed from Figma while there is an where there while
well,
there
there's
is an ongoing task. Ongoing. I think it's ongoing task.
right. So the default setting, or yeah, you can all, there's a setting in the localized project where you can lock the translations unless that user is part of that ongoing task, right? So yes, it's possible.
Okay, perfect. Question from Lauren Dang. What about if there are two translation keys with the same string value?
Right. That's what I was going over in the push setting. So you have the option there either to match to a specific key, select the correct key. I think if you're mentioning that, then the behavior is that the first created key will be the default one for now, but I may need to rerun that by product. However, you have the flexibility to either create to one key identifier or create duplicates if need be.
All right. Then we have 1 second more questions coming in. instead of having to pull the entire page into another language or duplicate into a completely different page, could we have these abilities with frames? Duplicate the frame in another language, duplicate an entire design within a page into another language, etc.
Okay. I think I understand, but it'd be good to get a bit more context on this. So for now, the behavior is no, it creates a separate page. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can either update the same page into a different you can update that into a different language, but you're not going to create a duplicate on the same page. I've seen the use case. There are arguments for, there are arguments against. But yeah, more context. Please feel free to reconnect
Yeah, we
after
can.
the webinar.
Yeah, we can go. We can answer offline to some of these because there are a lot of questions coming in. Ingo is asking for some help because the drop down seems to be inactive. Ingo, I advise you to just contact our support team. They will definitely help you out with that one. Diego is asking, can I link already existing keys in Lokalise to Figma project?
Okay, from my lexicon, it would be exist. You can, yeah, the project would be in Localise, right? But yes, you can link existing strings in Figma to existing keys in Localise. It's perfectly fine.
All right, perfect. There's a question about pricing. Right now, the price, the Figma plugins are available for our Pro packages, Pro and Enterprise, of course. So there's no add-on right now for the other ones. Yeah, you will need to upgrade. But feel free to contact us and tell us what is your use case, and we can definitely help. All right, let's take just one more because we have several still to answer. Sometimes I work on a Figma page with hundreds of layers. Is there a quick way to be sure that all my content text are linked to a translation key?
A quick way, well, basically, once your keys are linked, when you select them using the plugin will show you which keys are already linked and which ones are not linked. So yeah, it's possible.
All right. So we have several questions still to answer, but we will definitely do it offline. So don't worry, we'll get back to you with an answer to your questions, and we'll share it. In the meanwhile, be sure to visit our website. Thank you, Niklas, by the way, for the demo. Very interesting, very insightful. I think it was useful for everyone attending. Be sure to connect with us on LinkedIn, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for hosting me. Thanks, everyone.